All right, let's get started with COM 400 qualitative research. We are looking at this is number video 5. We are looking at kinds of qualitative research. We're going to look at the second kind, which is focus groups. This is also known as group interviewing, and has 4 characteristics. We're going to take a look at those. The first is that they involve people. You can have things that study all kinds of other things, but focus groups involve people, and often people selected on a specific characteristic. Number 2, people have a common interest. That was what I was saying, a specific characteristic. For instance, if you wanted to find out about what people thought about, let's see, what people think about a certain kind of cars, such as Hyundais. You might get people who own Hyundais and talk with them about that. If you wanted to find out, sometimes in advertising, they will get people in who have used a certain product and find out what they think about it. That would be another type. Or focus groups are also used in public relations to find out people's attitudes towards things, and how people would react to certain situations that might arise. So that's one involves people. 2, selected on a specific characteristic, or they share a common interest. And the third is that it supplies qualitative data. Sometimes people don't realize this and say we had a focus group of 10 people, 2 said this, so that means 20% of people are likely to think a certain way. Well, a focus group will give you an idea of some of the things that people are thinking, but not the percentage. It's not a sample. It's qualitative research. And the fourth thing is focused discussion. A good discussion leader can direct the discussion and get really intricate information that people will respond to by bouncing off each other, and it's a great way to get information. I did a study, one of the studies I did, on what people think about newspapers and the watchdog concept of journalism. And that is where the watchdog concept is, should journalism be aggressive with the government? Should they look for problems, etc.? And so we use some focus groups to look at that. Let's look at some advantages of focus groups. One, it allows researchers to collect preliminary data. If you don't know anything about a subject and you're starting out, a focus group can give you the ideas of what questions to ask. And that can be very important. A really good idea. And you can get the breadth of questions so that you or I might come up with maybe 5 questions and put the other category as the final thing there. Well, if you do the survey and a lot of people put things in the other category, you know you've missed some really good categories. And so a focus group can avoid that kind of problem. It also may be used as pilot studies for other data. You can use a focus group to find out if there is what the questions are and whether it's worth going into another study. And so it can be an initial study to get things started. Focus groups can also be conducted quickly. That's why they used to be used in politics quite a bit, not as much now. I also had a friend who used to work professionally as a person who did the audio and video for focus groups, and he worked for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco, and he would go, or at least he worked with their focus groups, but he would go in and set up the cameras, and they would not let anybody. You could set up the cameras, you would turn them on, and the video people had to leave. They didn't want anybody. The privacy was so great, they didn't want anybody in there except the facilitator, the people, and the people who would be looking at the video. Very concerned about privacy areas. So, provides qualitative data. It's a focused discussion, but it also is, as part of that focused discussion, you can meander different places. If somebody brings up something you weren't expecting, you can say, hey, let's pursue that. So you say this causes a problem. Maybe you're talking to somebody about how they are treating sheltering at home. Wouldn't that be an interesting way to look at communication? Um, and for instance, you could have a hypothesis: people who are sheltering at home, if they're extroverts, they are much more likely to seek any kind of contact with others. Here would be an interesting one. Are extroverts more likely to break social distance barriers in order to initiate a conversation? I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it would be interesting to pursue that. So you can have flexible questions and look at different things. Another thing is the speed with which the reports can be done. A focus group can often be set up, sometimes in less time, but in 7 to 10 days, a focus group can often be set up. Another factor is that the cost is affordable. You can do it very cheaply, but sometimes if you're doing a professional one, it could be set up it can be done for maybe $2,500 to $5,000. You think that costs a lot. Most of that would go to the moderator. You need a professional moderator who knows what they are doing. And we all are, I guess I went ahead and already talked about the groups are questionable in question design and follow-up. So you have some things that you want to talk about, but you can go off and learn if somebody brings up something that you weren't expecting. Okay, we're going to stop this video at this point, and I will see you later.